This podcast is brought to you by Gridiron Heroics Media.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome one and all to the Gridiron Heroics Football Show. I'm Max Dean, and today we are here to pick all of the games from Saturday's slate. To help me do that, I have Bryson Owens and Kyle Nishida. Bryson is with Gridiron Heroics and Denver Sports Betting. Kyle's the lead betting analyst with Gridiron Heroics. And it's just 3 games, so it's a nice little taste of the action to come. We can finally catch up on what's happened with our picks over the past couple of weeks, because we've got a couple of weeks to catch up on. And then we'll be back tomorrow to pick the full slate and chat about how this Saturday went. So, Bryson, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing really well so far, man. I'm excited to have NFL on both days of the weekend. It makes the weekend even better than it already is. So I'm excited.
I would agree, but I have to work today. So for me, it's cool and all, but I'll be watching this all after the fact. I don't know when I'll watch it. Maybe I'll watch the condensed versions tonight. We'll see. We'll see how late I get home. But yeah, normally I would feel that an extra day of action starting in the middle of the day, I would be all about that. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Obviously, we have 3 NFL games. Also, some pretty interesting college football games. My alma mater, Washington State's playing very early in the morning on my end, so I'll be very, very interested in that, but also be following along with the NFL as well.
Nice. All right, let's switch this because it's messing with my normal rhythm here, my normal routine. Okay. Beautiful. So, we're just going to jump right into the first one. First of all, I'll just ask, how did you guys do this past Thursday in the 49ers game?
I did. Yeah, I got that one as well. I know a lot of people like Seattle as the home dog. I just thought that the 49ers were gonna roll, or at least control the game for the most part, which is what ended up happening. So I thought that was a pretty easy read for a -3 with them.
Yeah,
I was comfortable. Sorry,
I felt the same way. No, you're good. I felt the same way. I mean, a lot of other people I talked to were worried about the Brock Purdy hype coming back to its like what we thought would be his norm, but it seems like the Niners can just kind of throw in anyone in this offense and anyone can be good. Whether it's a wide receiver, running back, quarterback, doesn't really matter. Kyle Shanahan can kind of just get the best out of whoever he has in that offense. And Brock Purdy's doing a lot of really good things. And I've been saying it for weeks. I can't bet against that Niners defense. You can have me at quarterback for the 49ers, and I'm still going to take the Niners to cover the spread because that defense may not give up any points in the game.
Yeah, I just think people don't give great defenses quite enough respect because, I mean, you see it with any of the top teams who play exclusively like not exclusively, but it's led the way is led by their defense.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about them like the other team has a chance, and I'm like, sometimes it's like that offense is good against an okay defense. You know what I mean? They can execute, but you have to be a very high quality offense to do anything against a defense that good because they don't make mistakes. They close so fast. I 100% agree with you. I took the 49ers as well. So we're all going into this week with at least 1 point under our belts. All right. So first up, we have the Minnesota Vikings -3.5 going to the Colts +3.5 going to the Minnesota Vikings. So Kyle, I mean, I'm gonna throw it straight to you because this is your team, and we haven't talked in a little while. So I'm curious where your feelings on the Colts are right now.
I said it before I took that hiatus. I don't think the Colts are in this for now a quarterback. I don't think they're trying to be competitive anymore. I think they're if the season ended today, they'd be 7th overall, and that has an opportunity to get a quarterback you need. or give you a chance to move up to get the quarterback you need. So I think they're going to be in a position where they're going to try to lose and try and make it look interesting, but they're going to try to lose games. And let's be honest, man, they can't score more than 20 points on any given Sunday. So as long as the Vikings get to 21 points, they're gonna win. They're gonna win this game. So that's kind of where my feeling is at with the Colts. As far as this game goes, I honestly don't feel great about any of these Saturday games. It might be weird to say that because I know we're at the key numbers of 3 and 7 on a lot of these games. I just don't have a good feeling about that. The Vikings kind of made things a lot more trickier for me by getting destroyed by the Lions last weekend. And so I don't know what to think about the Vikings, but in this scenario, I'll go with the Vikings minus 3.5. I just think the fact that the Colts can't score at all, whenever they get into the red zone, they seem prone to giving up sacks or Matt Ryan fumbling. So I think the Vikings are going to be in enough scoring positions to at least win by at least 4 points here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting game to me. I mean, both these teams are coming off their last games, very, very disappointing. Colts obviously had a bye week last week, but the week before that, they gave up 33 points in a single quarter to the Dallas Cowboys. And the Vikings, with a chance to just kind of all but seal that division for them last week against the Lions, they blew it. The Lions ran them off the field. So it's been a really interesting couple of weeks for both these teams. I like the Vikings in this spot. I'm with Kyle. I think the Colts should no longer be trying to be competitive. If I were them, if I'm Jeff Saturday, I think the best thing he could do is bench Matt Ryan and start Sam Ellinger for the rest of the year. Because Matt Ryan still has like that little bit where he could mess things up by playing well for one game and win you a game. And now you're going from the 7th overall pick to like the 11th pick. And if I'm the Colts, I don't want that to happen. I would bench Matt Ryan for the rest of the year, see what the young kid has, and go into the next offseason looking for your quarterback. With all that said, the one thing that I'm worried about with this team, with this game, is the way the Vikings can lose is if you play a pretty physical brand of defense, and this Colts defense is still very, very solid. I know they had a really bad performance against the Cowboys, but other than that, they've been very, very good this season. And Kirk Cousins, if you can pressure Kirk, he's going to make a mistake at some point in this game. I think that's a possibility in this one. If DeForest Buckner can get to Kirk Cousins up the middle at least once, you can see some kind of momentum swing happen with the Colts. But ultimately, I think the Vikings offense it's more explosive. It's got more playmakers. And I think the Vikings are playing to win more than the Colts are at this point in the season. So I think the Vikings are going to come out, prove to everyone that they are still the best team in that division, despite what last week said, and then all but seal that division with a win today.
Yeah, this spread to me is kind of disrespectful considering the fact that the Vikings are at home, right? Mm-hmm. So they have some built-in points there. I mean, the Vikings have looked like one of the better teams in the NFL for the majority of the games they've played. They have enough bad games that people aren't sold on them maybe as true contenders, but still they should have more than a 3.5 point spread. Where the Colts are right now and where the Lions are right now is two very, very different trajectories. So yeah. I understand that like neither of them have the best record, but the Colts are, they're kind of stumbling their way to whatever finish they have, whether it's another win here or there, probably more likely than not a win. But, the Lions are tearing through the end of the season, trying to make the playoffs. And it just took them a little bit longer to kind of find themselves defensively, So the fact that the Vikings are only favored by 3.5, I think is kind of silly, especially considering they're home. Mm-hmm. I agree with the general sentiment that they're probably not true contenders and Kirk can struggle in certain situations. But, I mean, Justin Jefferson is getting open against everyone. So, and Stephon Gilmore is having a legitimate all-pro year. I picked him for second-team all-pro earlier this week when we talked about our all-pro teams. So unless he's traveling with him and he's just playing him against every snap. Like, he's just going to have a monster game. So I think 3.5 points is not enough. So I'll take the Vikings there as well. All right, this game to me is a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, just because I've been working and I don't have the exact update. The Baltimore Ravens are going to the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens are +3. Is Tyler Huntley slated to play in this game? Yes.
Yeah, there's no Lamar Jackson today.
Right. But Deshaun Watson has not looked good. So are they just considering the entire rest of the team good enough to beat a Tyler Huntley-led Ravens? I'm not sure exactly what I see there. I guess they're just calling it a pick'em since the Browns are at home and the Ravens are +3 as a result. So, man, I mean, I don't know if the Browns want to win this game. I mean, I guess they do because they don't even have a first-round pick to get better draft position. I think they got to be desperately hoping that it just looks better down the stretch. But interesting place where each of these teams are. Kyle, who are you taking in this AFC North matchup?
Yeah, again, another game where I'm struggling because I actually have bet Deshaun Watson to throw an interception in the the 2 games he's played this year, and he's thrown one. I just think he's too rusty. There's been too much time in between the amount of time he basically took a hiatus and then got suspended to now, to where I think he's going to be anywhere close to what he was when he was with the Houston Texans, at least this season. So I'm pretty down on the Browns. That being said, I'm sitting on them right now at -2.5 on the Gridiron Heroics pick 'em. But I'm probably going to switch that to Ravens +3. I don't know if the Browns are in any position right now with the way they're looking to handle what the Ravens are doing right now. I understand Lamar's not playing, but again, Tyler Huntley's actually been a pretty good quarterback against the spread right now. In his career, he's 4-1 against the spread. So that's a very, very good number for me to look at. And especially when I'm not confident in the Browns right now, I can easily swallow the 3 points when I know Huntley's had a good track record when it comes to of covering against the spread. So I'll go with the Ravens +3 here. But again, this is another game I'm really I'm struggling with and going back and forth with.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with this one as well. I finally switched it last night to Browns -3. I think, yes, Deshaun Watson's been extremely rusty. It's been a long time since he played football. I think this is a really good bounce back spot for him against this Ravens defense, which is 26th in the NFL against the pass, which is not very good. This is a good spot for Deshaun Watson to find some kind of connection with Cooper and Njoku and his receivers in this game. Have a little bit of a better performance than his last 2 games. And yes, Tyler Huntley has kept the Ravens in games. He's won them games. He hasn't exactly been stellar. Last week he went 8 of 12 for 88 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. I know that was against the Steelers defense, but still, that's not very great. He doesn't have exactly the best weapons around him either. He's got Mark Andrews and then just kind of a whole bunch of guys around him, which I think is going to be not ideal in this kind of situation. I think one thing a lot of people, they look at this and go, the Ravens are a better football team than the Browns. Why are the Browns favored? Lamar Jackson is hugely important to this offense. He was basically their offense all year in a lot of ways. And division games are always closer than people think. I mean, look, a couple weeks ago, no one would have guessed the Broncos had a chance to beat the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, and it was a close game. Same kind of thing here. I mean, the Browns are clearly not as good as the Ravens, but division games are close. The Browns have the best offensive weapon on this field with Nick Chubb. I think he's going to have a pretty good game. I think this is a good spot for Watson to find some kind of groove. And I think this is a chance for the Browns to play some kind of spoil against their division rivals as the Ravens and Bengals are battling each other for that division lead. So I'm going to take the Browns at home -3.
Interesting. It's kind of funny when you look at what these two teams have on the line. One has the division lead and potentially a playoff spot if, they were to slide badly enough. So we just don't really expect that. But the division lead really, and the other team is just desperately battling for some semblance of respect going into the offseason, right? Because I think there's just heavy criticism from everybody involved and how everything went. At this point, we are going into week 15, and there are very few unknown commodities left, right? We pretty much know what we have with almost every player in the NFL. We know what their season has looked like. Will they get a little hotter? Will they cool off a little bit? Sure, but it's only 4 weeks left. Deshaun Watson is one of the few unknown commodities left this season. So I think without Lamar Jackson, if Jacoby Brissett was playing, I would take the Browns, or I might take the Browns -3. With Deshaun Watson, I don't think I am, just because I just don't know what that's going to look like. You know what I mean? I feel like this is a momentum thing as much as a rust thing, because the criticism was going to come immediately if he didn't come out of the gates on fire, and he didn't, which I don't think anybody really expected him to. And the whole team is feeling that. It's got to be weird to play with a guy who played pretty well the entire year, and then now he's just on the bench, and there's this other guy. You know what I mean? It must feel uncomfortable in a lot of aspects for Watson and the team. So the other thing is that it was not just that, but they're still not good at stopping the run, and the Ravens still can run the ball. So, they're not as good as they were with Lamar Jackson, but they can, and the Browns really can't stop. So I think they'll still be able to control the ball a little bit. I think the Ravens are pretty well suited to blocking up and stuffing up the Browns' run game. So interesting what an effort they put into running the ball and then so little effort into stopping the run. Anyway, it's a conversation for another day. But yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens +3 because I'm happy to get points and pick the Ravens at the same time. The Browns, man, I mean, I hope for their sake that, whatever happens, it's something that fans can be happy about for a while. But I'm not sure what that looks like, because I think there are so many people who are unhappy to have Deshaun Watson there as their quarterback that even if he starts winning, they won't really be happy to cheer for him. But that'll be a personal decision, obviously, for a lot of people. But yep. All right. Final game of the day. This is the big one. This is what we're really here for Saturday football. Like, if I get home from work and I have time, this is the game that I'm going to watch the condensed version of. Miami Dolphins +7 visiting the Buffalo Bills in December. Fun game. Now, it would be more fun, I think, if the Dolphins were a little bit hotter right now. That +7 spread is a little bit big for two teams that, most people consider to be true division contention rivals for the majority of the season. Tua's cooled off substantially. Now we just have to find out, is this a point into his career where we see him go on extended cold streaks or finish the season a little bit weakly? Or is he the type of player that has a down week or two and bounces back quickly? We don't know that yet. Still a little bit too early in his career, and he's not played enough total games. So, Kyle, what do you think? What do we expect from Tua Tagovailoa and the rest of the Dolphins?
Yeah, it's kind of weird what's going on with Miami. I think the fact that they literally just were flying across the country and stayed over there, I think that probably changes some things. Having to go to Buffalo is rough, but I think the one thing that will be interesting about this is there's basically a winter storm warning going on in Orchard Park right now, and I don't know if anybody saw the pictures of the snow that's currently there right now. That's going to continue, and so I tend to go with the underdog in those situations just because I think if the weather's going to be bad, then both teams are going to have to deal with the conditions, and that means, and in my mind, I think things actually end up balancing out better. It brings even though the Bills have probably played in that more, I think it brings these teams closer because it's an added element that a team like the Bills, who are known for throwing it around the field much more often and being explosive. I do understand the Dolphins do that as well, but I think they have a much more keen ability to be better on the short passing, whereas Buffalo likes to push the ball down the field. So I think they have at least an idea of how to do things in terms of short patterns and everything like that. So I actually am riding with the Bills, not because are riding with the Dolphins +7, not because I think that the Dolphins are playing at this overwhelming special. I just think the weather's going to play a factor in that, and I just feel like if the weather's really as bad as it is, this is going to be a close game. Ugly conditions usually means ugly, ugly possessions, close football. And yes, right now the total is sitting at 43. I would imagine if the weather continues to hold, that number is going to dramatically drop. So I'm going with the Dolphins +7. May seem like an unorthodox pick, but that's kind of where my mind's at right now.
I'm going to take the Bills -7. There's a few reasons why. One, Tua, pretty terrible in cold weather games. I know he tried to play it off in the presser earlier this week by saying it snows in Alabama too. Doesn't snow in Alabama like it does in Buffalo. Nice try though, Tua. In his 4 coldest games as a starter, he's 0-4 with a passer rating of 61.4 with 3 touchdowns and 6 turnovers. That's pretty abysmal. And this Buffalo defense, it's really good. And he's not played well against obviously he didn't play well against the Niners. Most people don't. Shocking, right? Didn't play well against the Chargers defense, which has been pretty abysmal all year. And now he's going against this Buffalo team in a severely cold game with a lot of snow, going against a Buffalo defense that's playing really, really well. That gives me no confidence in Tua. And with all this snow, it takes away their deep passing game. They're not going to be airing the ball out a ton to Tyreek and Waddle. I think it's going to come down to whoever can run the football the best in a game like this, and neither team runs the ball well exclusively with their running backs, but Josh Allen adds a level to that run game that Tua just can't. And I think that's going to take the Bills over the top. I do think it'll be low scoring, but I'm having trouble finding a way for the Dolphins to even consistently get into scoring opportunities against this defense with the situations they're going against, with the momentum they're playing with. I think this is a great spot for the Bills to just kind of really, really push the Dolphins out of contention for that division, get a bounce back win over that pretty weird week 3 loss they suffered to the Dolphins earlier in the year. I think Buffalo has a chance to really show that they can win in a lot of different ways in any kind of conditions. So I know 7 points is a lot. I think it's going to be a low scoring game because of the snow, and usually those don't play well with these kind of spreads. But it's hard for me to find a way for Miami to consistently get themselves in scoring positions today. So I'm going to take the Bills -7.
Yeah. So it's not just Tua that's untested in the weather this season. It's the entire Dolphins team.
Mm-hmm.
They have not played in a open air cold weather stadium since the Bears on November 6th. So over a month ago, before it really got cold. I don't remember what the exact temperature was in that game, but I know that the overall weather wasn't bad. And before that, their coldest game would have been the Bengals on September 29th. So they have not played. I mean, they played or October 9th against the Jets, I guess. But again, we're talking about late September, early October. The weather was pretty nice. It was,
Mm-hmm.
not even getting to Halloween yet. And then they had a bunch of games at home. They played the Lions, who are in a dome stadium. They've been playing in Los Angeles or in California the last 2 weeks. So this is going to be interesting. Now, I don't think Tua is playing particularly well. The offensive line hasn't been as good lately, whether it be Teron Armstead not being there or being banged up when he got back. The Bills' defense is playing very, very well. The Jets' offensive line is better than the Dolphins' offensive line. And did you all see what they did to Mike White last week?
Oh gosh.
They about broke that kid.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit worried about what Tua's going to have to hold up to, because the Dolphins, they run the ball a little bit, but it's not their bread and butter. So if they're forced to, in third and long situations, to throw the ball, it doesn't really bode well for them. They're also not the best defense. So I think if the weather is so bad that Josh Allen literally can't throw the ball, this might be a game where they just have to put it in his hands and let him go run around, and he can do that. I'm not sure I trust this Dolphins defense. So the spread is kind of high, but because of the conditions, because of the situation, I think I'm going to go with the Bills as well at -7. I don't love a big spread in conditions like this. I really don't. But I think the conditions, I don't think that it evens the playing field. I think it substantially impacts one of the teams more than the other. So that's why I'm going to take this Bills at -7 here. All right. So that's it for Saturday. Let me make my pick official. So the slate tomorrow, interesting. Some bad games, some interesting games, some games that are definitely very important for the overall playoff picture, man. I don't know about this Jets-Lions game. I was feeling kind of good about it when Mike White was slated to play, because he just doesn't make mistakes. They're really good on offense, but the Jets are awesome on defense. And the
Lions' defense has been better lately.
They've been better, but
still bad.
But still not great. And the Jets are an execution team. They execute well with Mike White. They might not go above and beyond because of some of his limitations, but like if you aren't shut down, like he will move the ball on you. But now I don't know. Now with this whole Zach Wilson situation, I honestly don't know. But we can talk about that more tomorrow. I'll wake up with a feeling and we'll just ride with that. So it's been a couple of weeks since, so we haven't talked about week 13. Week 13, good week for you, Brison. Good week for me. You tied for first that week with 10 with Tyler Eschette, and I tied for third with 9 points. Kyle, you had 5.
Yeah.
This was a big week for me, catching up with you in the overall standings.
Yeah, you actually surpassed me. Yeah, I think the past 2 weeks have not really gone my way. I think I was on the wrong end of a couple of like hooks and split, and basically like a couple of flip flops. I know the one where I think 2 weeks ago where the Ravens were easily covering against the Jaguars and proceeded to find a way to lose that game. So yeah, I've had a couple of bad luck finishes like that to my record the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, that's from the wrong week. I'm like looking at the picks, but just in the wrong week. Let's see. Just to look back at the games from that week. Yeah, that was the Ravens Broncos 2 weeks ago, and yeah, they were easily covering, and then they didn't. So I think yeah. Lions beat the Jaguars. I think a lot of people took the Jags in that game. I don't remember what you guys took, but
I took the Lions in that one because the Jaguars opened up as favorites, and so my natural reaction is to go against that.
Yeah, I also took the Lions in that one.
Browns against the Texans. A lot of people took the Browns in that, but it was closer just because Deshaun Watson didn't play well. Did you take the Vikings?
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I think I did take the Vikings versus the Jets.
Yeah, that's one of the things about picking against the Jets is that they've been so good against the spread even when they've lost because their defense is so good. So I took Steelers over the Falcons. That was kind of a pick'em game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was I remember what it was. That whole afternoon slate for me that week went bad because the the Seahawks couldn't cover against John Wolford.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Dolphins got run out of town by the 49ers. The
Mhm.
Chiefs blew the lead to the Bengals, and then the Chargers just flat out lost to the Raiders, and I was like,
Mhm.
well, that entire afternoon slate went very, very poorly.
Yeah, of those 4 games, the only one of the Seahawks game, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Chargers, the only one I got right was the 49ers. I did pick the 49ers to beat the Dolphins. And yeah, it was the early games that really did it for me. I nailed almost every single one of the 1:00 games. All right. And then let's see standings for. I didn't do as well last. Well, actually, there was a lot less games, so maybe I did better just percent.
Last week was tough.
Yeah, last week was really tough. I think I only had like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I didn't have very many either.
I had 7, which out of 14, or was it 14 or 13?
I had 13.
13 games, so it's still over 50. I'm happy generally if we're picking every game. I'm happy when I do over 50% against the spread.
Yes.
I'm pretty satisfied with that, which I have
Mhm.
been, I think, almost every single week this year, except maybe one. Let's look at that. Picks for. I was tied for first place in that week as well. Week 14 picks. I took the Raiders, so they didn't cover. Took Steelers.
Yep.
They lost.
Yeah,
I took the
did that as
Titans.
well. I did
took
that
the
as well.
I took the
against
Titans.
Jaguars. Yeah, that was a mistake. I should have been more in touch with the direction that the Titans are going right now, but I didn't really trust the Jags yet. They're starting to look like they're putting it all together. So that's a lesson for me. But I got most of the rest of them. I took the Bengals over the Browns. I thought that was a pretty easy one. I took the Texans. 17 points. Are you kidding me? I picked it when they were plus 17. I don't know about you guys if you picked it earlier or not, but like the Cowboys they're not good enough to beat anybody by 17 points right now, even the worst team in the NFL. How did you did you guys go the other way on that?
I actually just took it as fight for the Texans. I think they're trying to go for the number 1 pick, so I just assumed they were going to lay over and let Dallas just run through them, which did not happen. Which good for them.
I took the Cowboys too after watching them put up 33 on the Colts. I was like, well, the Colts defense is better than the Texans defense, so they have to be able to do something against these Texans.
That Colts game just the
That
Colts
was impressive how bad they got in 1 quarter. Like
Yeah.
that really it really is impressive how
Yeah.
terrible they became in 1 quarter.
They fell apart, and the Texans are just they have been bad, but they have not just shown belly at any point this season, honestly. So 17 points was too much. If it was the Patriots, or I mean, if it was the Patriots, the Chiefs, I would have taken 17 points. Cowboys, no way. I took the Jets plus 10. Just once again, too big of a spread, even if they were going to lose. I took the Vikings.
Yeah, I did too. That was not good.
No, I kind of thought I was getting away with one there with points, but nope, didn't go well. I took the Eagles to beat the Giants at -7. That was an easy pick for me. I took the Chiefs.
Yep.
What? This is Broncos defense. That's the problem. It's just like the Jets where, well, I mean, Jets have a better offense, but their defense is too good for any spread that's like more than a couple of points, even if it's a very good offense, because they just play so well. I took 49ers over the Buccaneers.
That was my easiest pick of that. That was
Yeah.
such an easy pick for me. That was probably the easiest pick of that week for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They walked into a buzzsaw on that one on defense. I took the Seahawks over the Panthers.
Yep.
How they didn't win that game is amazing to me.
I don't know. I took the Chargers over the Dolphins too. I was really surprised that the Chargers were home underdogs against the Dolphins. But I guess, with that spread, the Dolphins being -3 is a sign that Vegas was like, okay, well, we think that Tua is going to be the kind of player who has a bad game and then bounces back. And now the spread against the Patriots is a suggestion that they're like, okay, maybe that's not the kind of player he is. So we'll see. I mean, the weather does play a part, but and then I took the Patriots over the Cardinals. I took it at 2.5, but obviously it didn't matter.
I had the Cardinals, and I think it was mostly just because of Kyler Murray. I thought I thought that offense was just going to be able to carry the Cardinals in that game to at least a closer game, and then immediately Kyler goes down. I think if Kyler played, I think the Cardinals would have come out on top, but because the Patriots offense wasn't doing anything spectacular.
Yeah, if Kyler plays, that would have been the coin flip that I think most people thought it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
I thought my in terms of, I think I only see 4 correct picks, and of the 4, the one I'm laughing about the most is the Rams beating the Raiders on Thursday night.
Yes,
should have known.
Yes.
Baker only needs 2 days. Only needs a day to look at the playbook to get it all together.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one. I didn't think Baker was going to just step in and be the best quarterback they've had all year. But anyway, so that's just a little recap of the past couple of weeks. The overall standings, I'm now at 104. Kyle, you are in second place at 102. We've got Philip Riggs at 101. Greg Simbeck at 97.5. And then Bryson, you are there at 5th with 96.5. At the end of the season, we will add in your picks from week 1. I just have to actually go back and listen to that podcast to see what you picked. Because
same.
I don't think you had a great week that week. So I think you had about 4 or 5, if I remember right.
4 or 5 right.
I would imagine it's 1, 2, 3 us right now, something like that in these
Philip's
standings.
Probably still in there.
Yeah.
Because I just have a vague memory that you got 4 right.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Because you verbalized it, like on the second week show, you said something about getting like 4 right. So that's it. I will double check it, but if that's the case, that puts you in 3rd right now. That would give you 100.5 points, or in 4th. Did I say you'd be in 4th? So you jump Greg, but you'd be right there, like right behind us. So that's what we have to look forward to this week. A tight race as we close out the season. I'm feeling good about moving up the standings, but as you know, that can change at any point.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Kyle, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you before we are back tomorrow to pick the rest of the games?
Yep, I can be found on Gridiron Heroics, and then on Twitter at Kyle_Nishida.
Beautiful. And Bryson, how about you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at BrysonOwen16. That's BRISON. And then you can see me both on here at Gridiron Heroics and on the Denver Sports Betting Show.
Beautiful. Shout out Noah Ashley, our producer, at Noah Ashley Sports on Twitter. And you can find me at TheMaxDean. And that will do it, guys. We will see you all tomorrow.
This podcast is brought to you by Gridiron Heroics Media.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.